Mercedes Moné haters are not going to like this news, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, because when I saw it and I was thinking about it, I go, oh, I got to bring it to y'all. We got to talk about it. And it's not necessarily like what she has, it's not what she said in her promo. It's not what she said on a tweet, right? It's not what she said on an IG Live. It's just the common booking of Mercedes Moné. And the common booking of Mercedes Moné is polarizing in itself. It's very controversial in itself because, well, Mercedes Moné insists on going on this crusade as the belt collector, right? And there's a mixed reaction to all this, right? Some people, they like the fact that Mercedes Moné is going around and winning all these titles, right? Oh, it adds heat. She's a heel. She's supposed to piss you off. She's supposed to irritate you. And by going around and winning all these titles, hey, it's bringing recognition to all these promotions. And this is a good thing for them. And she gets to go on television and she gets to have all these belts around. And then there's others that are like, including myself, of, okay, you win a belt or two, that's fine. They're prestigious, right? The Rev Pros, the AEWs, etc. Right? That's fine. But, when we're talking about like promotions you never heard of, or ones over in Italy that you never heard of, I don't care, right? I think that mentality, something which I share, I think it's legitimate. I think what happened was this gimmick, the belt collector gimmick, really kind of got out of hand. Because like at first, yeah, hey, this is a good idea. I like it, right? Everything I just brought up. And then it got redundant. It got out of hand. Honestly, it kind of got a little boring because, you go after independent championships or AEW championships that have name recognition, that have prominence. Okay, that's one thing, right? You go after titles that no one has ever heard about, promotions that you never heard of them before. Well, why do I care, right? Like, okay, you won another title. What's the difference between that and 10 titles ago? Okay. So I was looking at Mercedes Moné's schedule and I go, oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, so Mercedes Moné is expected to work House of Glory on November 15th. A loaded show, by the way. And she's going to be challenging for the APAC Women's Championship. Now, I've never heard of APAC, that promotion. I've never heard of them. I've never got any press releases from them that I can remember. If I have, my apologies. I've never heard of this promotion. Not a knock on the promotion, not a knock on their reputation. Hey, they might have some of the best, wrestling on the planet. I've just never heard of them. There's so much wrestling promotions out there. There's so much wrestling content out there. It's kind of hard to separate yourselves, right? And then I was like, okay, so that's November 15th. Oh, okay. Then you got Full Gear. Oh, crap. Full Gear. She's going to be challenging for the Women's Championship with Kris Statlander. There's a realistic possibility here that by the end of November, Mercedes Moné is going to hold 2 more titles. Now, I know someone in the comments there below will tell me that she has more, but I think she's up to 12 championships now. This could be her 14th, maybe her 15th. Like I said, someone will let me know in the comments there below. I don't even think it matters how many belts she has because it's such a ridiculous amount of championships. Does another one really matter? Well, look, I think that you kind of have to draw a line in the sand here. I expect her to win the APAC Women's Championship. I don't expect her to win the Women's World Championship. I hope she does not win the Women's World Championship because there is a problem by stating, hey, you have a situation where you clearly want to put the Women's World Championship on Mercedes Moné, okay? They wanted to rebuild the prestige of the TBS title. You had Toni Storm crushing it as Women's World Champion. You had Mariah May crushing it as Women's World Champion. So you didn't want to add Moné in that, right? Well, Moné has started to go after the championship, right? She fell short to Timeless Toni Storm at All In. Now we're getting it at Full Gear with her and Kris. I don't think she's going to win this championship before she loses all these belts, right? I just cannot see, and I've heard this same opinion echoed throughout the wrestling sphere. I just cannot see Tony Khan being like, yes, you're my TBS champion. Yes, you're my women's world champion. Now you can lose all these belts, right? Before you lose mine. I would expect, no matter what number it is, whether it's 15 or whether it's 20 or 14 or whatever the case may be, I just can't see Mercedes lose all these belts before she loses an AEW title, right? Like, I think the smart move here is to have it be, all right, Mercedes, you hold all these freaking belts. We're not going to have you win the women's world title at Full Gear just yet. We're not going to do that. We're not going to pull the trigger. But what we are going to do is, hey, you're going to lose the TBS title. And then you're going to kind of have this just absolute downfall, right? You're going to start losing all these belts. And we're going to tell that on the story and on television. And eventually you will get redemption. And eventually you will fight back and you will ultimately, maybe it's turn babyface, maybe it's not, but you'll ultimately get to the end of your road. You'll ultimately get to your ultimate goal, and that is to win the Women's World Championship. But I just can't see her having all these belts and the TBS title, and then win the Women's World title, and then have her lose all these really meaningless championships. I don't see it. And I would actually be surprised if Tony Khan opted to do so. I just can't see it. I just don't see it. And I think that's okay, actually. Just because Mercedes Moné is one of the best, wrestlers on the planet, and she holds all these titles and she's paid all this money. And, Mercedes is weird because when this is my opinion, right? When I saw Mercedes in WWE as Sasha Banks, I thought she was a total package. Clearly she can wrestle, right? Like, wrestling has never been an ability that she's not been able to conquer. She's always had that on lock. But what I found was, it seems like her promos, and I don't know if it's because they were scripted. I don't know if it's because of the personality. I don't know if it's just the time and place. I don't know which, but it just seemed like her promos were a lot better in WWE than AEW. The AEW ones, they just never seem to really hit, right? To me, it seems like Moné comes across as playing a character and not being the character, right? She's pretending to be this character, and you can tell she's pretending, rather than someone who's playing a character. Clearly, they're pretending to be that character, but it doesn't come across as that. It just comes across as, they're just naturally that character, right? That's the only thing that kind of stands out to me of, okay, this is the issue. Now, I could be wrong. I could, but that's just what it comes across to me. So whether you like this move, whether you don't like this move, I think Mercedes is going to win more championships. I don't know how many more. God, I don't know where it's going to be at, but I would expect to see Moné win more championships.